this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So we are here to have another play with our beautiful beach huts kit. If you haven't tuned in before or you haven't tuned in recently, this is a free kit. It's part of my lockdown, lonely lockdown but not alone series, ready for the coronavirus kind of lockdown that we are in here, and I know that lots of countries are also in. So if you want to get these papers, they are free. They are on my website, www.shabbydabbydoodah.co.uk. So head on over there and, feel free to obviously download yourself a set. And of course, you do not have to use them for the project that I am using them for. You can use them exactly as you wish. So if we just crack on, we are making a sort of folio thing with them, with some ephemera pieces to go with it. It will maybe just be a way to document what's going on at the moment, or maybe it would make a nice gift for someone who sadly you're not able to see at the moment. I mean, obviously, we're all being advised and instructed really to stay in our homes. So I think probably like most of us, I'm not able to see, like my mum and things. You maybe have other relatives and things that you are not able to see. And hopefully, this finished piece would make, just a nice little something to be able to pop in the post and just show that person that you're thinking of them. And maybe kind of just something kind to show them that you are thinking of them and they're on your mind, and obviously hopefully it's got a nice spring summery feel and would just lift their day a little bit. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, obviously just keep it for yourself, either way, or sell it, or whatever you want to do with it. So if we just continue on, we're just going to be decorating it and filling it with bits and bobs, and just having a little bit of a play and some fun basically. So far we've obviously done this page. I had said that I was going to save the decorating and embellishing more for not the end, but after I'd put the whole folio together. Of course I couldn't resist and couldn't help myself, so I have now got on with some of the decorating already, because I just couldn't help it really. And so I was very weak-willed and just gave in, could not wait to actually get started with the decorating. So let's just continue on. So I'm just going to take, I think, this little journaling card here. So for those people who have not downloaded the kit yet, the kit is 10 background pages, and I think it's 5 ephemera pages in the kit. You've got fussy cut pieces of beach huts and flowers and things, some bunting flags, journaling cards and what have you. And obviously you've got then coordinating set of background papers. Mine have been coffee dyed, but again, that's up to you really whether you wanted to coffee dye them or not. So for this one, I might just pop this in here. I think that looks quite cute there. And it obviously then emulates the, what are they? Beach huts. The beach huts from the following page, the opposite page. So we're just going to pop those in there. Again, you could make a little flip out here. So should we do that? I just always love a flip out, to be honest. So let's have a look. Just trying to work out how to get the best use from my papers. I mean, we haven't used this paper at all yet. Oh, decisions. Probably. Oh, what's this one? Perhaps I use this and do like a little flip out with this one. Yeah, so I think what I'll do, it doesn't need to be a very big flip out, so I'm just going to trim it down here like that, because obviously it is only for this width, so it really didn't need to be a very big piece at all. In fact, that's way too big. But I'm just going to then fold that over there like that. Again, just fold it the other way. Okay. So we could either glue it here on, you know, this piece itself, or we could obviously glue it like under there. Either way is quite nice, to be honest. So perhaps we'll just do it like that. So I'm just going to apply a bit of glue there. Like that. Okay. Just tuck that into that flap. Okay. Like that. Okie dokie. Right, okay. And I mean, I just think that looks pretty there, to be honest. So I'm just going to pop that down. Just as a, you know, a decorative piece. It's not necessarily got a function, but I just thought it, you know, picked up the facing page really nicely. I mean, of course you could actually make it a pocket. So, well, perhaps we'll do that, a top loading pocket. I mean, to be honest, whether or not I will actually even remember it's a pocket, who knows, but at least then you've got the option. So we'll just place that down there like that. Okie dokie. Okay, and then we're going to also, oops, tuck our envelope in there as well. Now, what you could do is here, we could just have something holding this closed. So again, I'll just pull in the fussy cut pieces. We could just have a look. Just wondering whether you could just hold it closed with like a beach hut. Well, that might be quite nice. So let me just see how that looks. Yeah. Yep. So let's do that. So I quite like to just pop it down roughly where it would be, you know, to hold it down, and then hold it against that piece so as I know where to run the glue to, and then just glue it down like that. Okay, so we just then tuck that over like that and just glue that down. Okay. Okay, so that's quite pretty, isn't it? Okay. So then let's just have a look and see if we want any lace anywhere on here. So again, I'm just going to cut that sort of header piece off of that lace. Oops. Oh, perhaps we'll have that at the top actually, that's quite nice. Right, let's just pop that along there. So just like that. Oops, hot, hot, hot. Okay. Oh, sorry, okay appears to be my new word. Yep. Just can't go too long without having another new word that I then use to, you know, overuse. Oh, I don't know why that happens to me, but for some reason it just does. Right. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to decorate this little envelope here. In the last one I had dug out this little stamp. This is such a pretty stamp. I've never seen this one before. Hopefully you can see that. It's got that gorgeous bird on there. It might be a duck actually. I think that's a duck on there. But it's a Canada Canadian stamp. Yeah, and I've just never seen that one before. So, you know, like, I mean, like a lot of stamps, you kind of get them and think, oh, I've seen that billions of times, or, you know, I've already got tons of those. I don't feel like I've ever seen this particular one before, so it's a really pretty one. And I'm just thinking I'm going to pop that little label on there as if it were, you know, the address label. Now, do we want to pop that onto some lace? Let's just have a look. I'm going to pop the stamp down so as it stops moving around, and, you know, so that I've kind of made a commitment there to that stamp. So we'll just pop that there in the corner. And then here, might be that this lace is just too big on that piece. You see, I think it looks better without it, but whether it looks better with none is just another thing altogether. So again, let me just take some of this one. I've got two different types of white lace here, which I'm kind of, you know, going between. Oh, that's quite nice, isn't it? Oh no, I've covered up some of that lovely stamp. I don't want to do that. Right, let's have it at the bottom because I don't want to cover up that pretty stamp. So I'll just pop this down here like that. Okay. And then we'll just pop this lace on here. Just there, because if I have it any further down, it's going to go into that crease of the, you know, the folio itself. So we'll just have it sort of higher up on that envelope. So just about there. Okay. That's pretty, isn't it? Now, you may notice I've not added any bling to this so far, which, wow, that's just like not on, is it? Not on at all. And even though this is like beach themed and probably bling is probably not really very beachy, I obviously want to try it and just see how it looks, because I just love it. I love everywhere that you put bling. It just looks awesome. How cool does that look? You know, just, even though it's just not in keeping with the theme of this at all, it still looks good. So, yeah, I'm sorry, you know, beachy, shabby chic project, but you're going to have to now have bling after all, so. Oh gosh, now I've just knocked my hot glue on the floor. Okay. Right, that's the first piece of bling on there, and I'm sure we're going to, of course, have loads more on here now. Because now I've gone down the bling route, there's obviously going to be no stopping us, and it'll be blinged out everywhere now. Okay. Right, okay. Picked up the glue gun. Have a look. Now I'm thinking we now need to mirror this and have some bling across the page. So let's just get some of this. I'll just cut that down and make it slightly smaller. And hey, let's just have some up here now, because like it's now just bling galore, isn't it? We're just having it everywhere now. It does just always finish it off so nicely, doesn't it? And am I the only person who just like absolutely loves the bling? Every time that I put it somewhere, well, not every time, but literally 9 times out of 10, I just absolutely find myself loving it. Absolutely loving it. So yeah, I know that there are a few people who also love the bling, because they sometimes comment and say that they also love the bling. And 1 or 2 people have even kindly actually sent me, you know, an email saying how much they also love bling. So, well, they haven't necessarily emailed me saying that, but they happen to have mentioned in their email that they also love bling. You know, they haven't just emailed me saying, oh, by the way, hi, I love bling too. You know, they haven't done that, of course. But, yeah, they have said, oh, by the way, you know, whilst I'm emailing you anyway, I also love bling. So it's definitely, it's not just me. Right. I do quite like this here. Oops. Oh gosh, look. Now the bling's actually stuck on me. I mean, that's probably not quite such a good look, is it? Just hanging off your fingers, you know. I mean, it's one thing being on your project, but it's probably quite another thing just having bling just hanging off you willy-nilly. You know, going around with just blingy hands. You know, not in the conventional jewellery sense, but in the just, wow, I'm covered in glue threads, so I happen to have now bling hanging off me. That's probably not really such a good look, is it? Okay. Oh, I did have to laugh a few weeks ago, and I talked about Sheree having said about my gold fingers on my video, and she said gold finger, you know, like the James Bond gold finger. And I then commented in a video saying how, you know, that was the only word I knew from that song, and I then had that song, you know, hooked in my head. I did have to laugh because I then had obviously other people comment that they too then had that song hooked in their head, and one comment, a lovely lady, even went on to recite some of the other words, so I knew then slightly more words than just gold finger, you know. Well, not that that was the tune, obviously. I realise that's not the tune at all, but yeah, so I did have to laugh about that. So I apologise if now you've got that stuck in your head again. It's just when I pictured my, you know, glue thread fingers, it again just made me think of that, and I just thought how much it made me chuckle. I do find myself laughing sometimes at some of the comments, you know. I think just some of you ladies are so funny, and I just, yeah, love reading funny comments. It just brightens your day, doesn't it? Right, let's do this. As we've now gone full on decorating, even though I'd said, oh, I'm not going to decorate until the end. Right. Let's see what else we've got. So we've also got this little fussy cut page here, which has got like a little row of beach huts at the bottom. Well, it's actually got 3 in slightly different sizes. So I'm going to just see if this will fit here. I haven't attempted cutting out any of these yet, so they might be more fussy cuttable, you know, more fussy to fussy cut than I had first intended. We'll see. Oh, they're not too bad. Well, so far, I mean, I've obviously only cut the bottom really, which was just the straight line. Let me move this out the way. Right, let's go for this. So I think I'm just going to go in this way, like all the roofs, like that. I had another lady saying it was during my, you know, 7 days working with things off my desk, and she said her room was such a tip as well, that her husband actually said he was going to have to tie something around her waist to be able to pull her back out so she didn't just get lost in there, which I just thought was very funny. Pictured her working at her desk with, you know, something tied around her waist, like maybe attached to like the door handle or something to keep her from getting just lost in amongst the paper. So talking of funny things, and this probably is not going to be particularly funny for anyone else. It was probably one of those you had to be there moments. But so on the day, you know, day one of homeschooling, you know, for the children, now that they're at home all the time, I think I'd already said, like in a previous video, so I had some stuff planned, you know, and one of the things that I had planned was doing those tongue twisters, you know, like that Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, you know, that one. For my 6-year-old. So she's learning about houses at the moment. So we talked about houses and things. Now I have to say I had broken the activities up into what I thought would be half-an-hour chunks. I obviously had overestimated how long that a 6-year-old can really focus for, because 20 minutes seemed to be her limit, really. You know, after 20 minutes she was kind of like, you know, doodling on the book and not really wanting to do anything much else. You know, had lost interest completely, basically, in what we were doing. But it was fine because, you know, we'd sort of done quite a bit by that point. But anyway, so we'd learnt about different types of houses, and we only covered flats, bungalows and thatched roofs, you know, on houses. And we only did the thatched roofs because she'd talked about the 3 pigs, so she said straw houses, and I said, not many people really live in a straw house, but hey, you can get thatched roofs, which, you know, are like roofs of straw. So anyway, we then after we'd done the talking about houses, and you know, we looked at how to spell obviously bungalows and what have you, and then we drew a picture of a bungalow and, you know, a block of flats and things like that. And then we were looking at tongue twisters. So she thought it was hilarious. She'd never heard of a tongue twister before. And, you know, saying the Peter Piper tongue twister was very fun. She thought that was just hilarious. So, you know, I'd really recommend that for anyone who's kind of like, oh my gosh, what else can I do with the kids? She's 6, so I'm not saying that would necessarily work with all age groups, but she found that very, very, very fun. And yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun together, and it was really, really good. And then we decided to make some tongue twisters, you know, following the words that we had used, you know, for our, you know, the house project. So, I mean, obviously, it was more about just finding words, really. So not necessarily making any sense whatsoever, but our one of our tongue twisters that we came up with was, I think it was big builders build bubbly bungalows. Big builders build bubbly bungalows. And you know what? That is actually quite a tongue twister, because actually trying to say that at any, you know, sort of speed or, you know, a few times, it is actually quite a tongue twister. So big builders build bubbly bungalows. I know obviously that has no context, you know, what is a bubbly bungalow, but you know, again, she thought that was great fun. So yeah, it was quite fun. And I can't remember now what the other ones were. We definitely struggled with coming up with anything for the thatched roofs in the way of tongue twisters, you know. But yeah. But it's quite interesting because, I mean, obviously, you know, obviously I'm not a teacher. I mean, hats off to teachers. I don't know how they do it, to be honest, to keep those children entertained all the time like they do. It's just incredible. But yeah, it was just quite interesting to see actually the concentration, you know, the rate at which it kind of just diminishes, you know, and it was definitely faster than I'd expected, you know, maybe naively, who knows, but yeah. Right, I'm having a look at this piece now because I can't remember if this is just envelope here. So I think it was. Now wondering whether we might put a bit of lace. So just having a look down here. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine a class full of like 30 children. Oh gosh, that must just be awful. I mean, you'd go home literally like with a headache, wouldn't you, every day? That sounds just a really mean thing to say, but oh my gosh, I mean, oh, kids are pretty full on, aren't they? So to be with so many of them in a confined space like a classroom is pretty, oh, you know, would take a lot of dedication, I think. Okay. And also, and I'm probably repeating myself, which I'll probably do a lot over the next few weeks, because obviously I'm going to be very limited for subjects to talk about because I'm not doing anything, you know, as probably not many of us are. But then not many of us maybe are trying to chat away on a video, I don't know. Anyway, oh, what was I about to say? Oh yes, so I thought I'd be really organised. I'm just going to check I'm filming and I'm in frame. I thought I'd be really organised that first day, and I set all these alarms on Alexa, which is in our kitchen, and I thought, well, we will work in the kitchen, so I'll set the alarms on Alexa. So I downloaded that Alexa app onto my iPad. I'd never used that before or anything. You know, did everything I thought I needed to do, connected it up, you know, to the kitchen Alexa from my iPad and all that stuff, you know. And anyway, for some reason, we were doing our, you know, our lessons, and Alexa wasn't kind of going off when she should have been. Well, she wasn't going off, full stop. So I had set her as when it would be break time, essentially, or when the half an hour of one task would be up and we would move on to another subject. But she wasn't going off, and I thought, oh, that's strange. But because I'd obviously never used that app before, I just put it down to really user error. Well, of course it was user error, but not in the way that I was thinking. So that night at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was rudely awoken by Alexa, bleeping away. Presumably she had also bleeped at other times, because I'd set several, you know, I'd set one at like 1 o'clock for the afternoon lessons to begin after the lunch between 12 and 1. I'd set one at, it must have been 1:30, and then 2 o'clock, and then 2:30 and 3 o'clock, I think, was the timings. Anyway, so I don't know whether I just didn't hear the first ones, or, you know, I don't know. But yeah, so I had obviously set them for the morning, you know, 2 a.m, 3 a.m, rather than in the afternoons. That explained why they weren't going off during the day. So it was fully user error, but totally not in the way I thought. And yeah, I mean, stupidly, because I thought to myself, oh, you know, it's obviously just not really connected with my device. And really, had I actually thought about it, I would have realised that it was, because I'd heard it go off for the 9 o'clock, you know, bell, as it were, for when they were starting school. So, you know, like, really, I should have realised that, you know, it was working because it had gone off for one of the alarms. But, you know, like, obviously in amongst everything that's going on with everybody at the moment, I just didn't really think. And, yeah, I just kind of put it on my list of, oh, well, I'll have to look at that, you know, later and sort of sort it out and work out why it's not connected to my iPad. No, it was connected to my iPad all along. I just very stupidly had set the alarms for the middle of the night instead. So what a wally. But I mean, luckily, obviously, you know, I mean, sleep with the bedroom doors shut and things. So I possibly just hadn't heard the first ones going off. And I don't know whether she eventually does go off. Or perhaps she'd just been ringing out endlessly. I don't know. But certainly, I mean, I was woken up sort of later. So I don't know whether, you know, does she time out after so long? You know, if people don't tell her to stop, I don't know. But yeah, what an idiot. Anyway, so hopefully I won't be doing that again. Now, do I have that on there or do I have it on there? It's quite ginormous actually compared to those beach huts, so I'm going to put it on this side instead. There's some labels and things as well on here, so I'm going to just, I think, take one of those. So much for, oh, we won't decorate this until we're, you know, until we've like finished assembling it. I didn't think I'd be able to manage that, to be honest. I think it's just the natural thing is to decorate it, because otherwise you don't necessarily know where you're going to want flaps and what have you in the first place. So, you know, it was like a natural progression that it had to be decorated. Oh, let's just say that anyway. So, shall we have this one here? Or we could have it, actually, we could have it on that pocket. It's quite nice. Right, let's just pop that bunting down on there. Oh, come on, glue. I thought this was going a bit well with no glue sagas so far, but well done. Oh, we've had some really nice weather lately. And again, and I know that I say this in every video, so I apologise if I'm just repeating myself, but I repeat myself because I'm always aware there might be people joining who've not seen the previous video. So I suddenly realise now why, like on TV, they sometimes do these recaps that, you know, when you've been watching something, you think, oh, that's so annoying, you know, how many times have you said that? I mean, to be fair, it's kind of because, like, you don't want people to wonder what you're talking about. Anyway, yeah, so we've been having lovely weather, but that's because I'm filming these videos ahead is why I'm explaining, because you may be watching this and the weather might be now horrible and you'll be wondering, you know, where I am in the UK that I'm having such nice weather. It's very spring-like. Oops, and also we have planted, you know, the little tree that my son and I found on the walk just before Christmas that was there as a commemoration, you know, of somebody who passed away. We have planted it now in our garden. So it had been sat on the kitchen windowsill thus far, and obviously now that the weather seems to be nice, we finally have planted it out. So that's the update for the tree. I mean, it's really titchy, so, you know, you can't really kind of notice it, to be honest, in the garden, because I mean, I don't really tend to have flowers, but I've got quite a few shrubs, so it's just planted in with a couple of other shrubs, which are obviously huge in comparison. They're like monstrous on the at the side of it, but you know, it is at least in the ground now. So yeah, that's kind of how that is. I mean, I know I've said this before, but I mean, we've not really got the biggest garden, but we've done away with our grass, which I have to say, what a brilliant move that was, because there's no grass cutting to go on and things like that, which is just so lovely. You know, because we weren't great at keeping on top of looking after the garden. So yeah, it's just brilliant now to not have any grass to actually worry about. And I'm just playing around deciding how to have this lace, because of course I do want lace here, but I haven't decided quite where it should be. Yeah, so we've done away with the grass and we just have shingle in the garden, which is so much better for us, you know, as a, or from a looking after point of view. It just works brilliantly for us because we were so awful at looking after it previously that it just constantly looked awful, and yeah, just wasn't great. And to be honest, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I just think if grass doesn't look really lovely and spick and span and, you know, green and neatly kept, it doesn't really look that great, does it? So I mean, I know lots of people love grass, but I mean, I just think if it doesn't actually look that nice, then you might as well not bother. And ours definitely was in that category of not looking very nice. So it's much better now. And, you know, obviously it's much better as well because we don't now have to actually look after it or cut it or anything else. So it's a win-win, you know, for our garden. And to be fair, it looks really nice, you know, it looks really nice because it doesn't really take very much getting it back to some sort of order. You know, after the winter, we just cut a few of the shrubs and things that have grown really big. And then, sorry, I was just checking how that would be if I folded the page over. Yeah, we just cut a few of the shrubs and things like that that have grown quite big, you know, over the winter. And then that's it. It's, you know, back to looking tidy and presentable. So it works really perfectly. And to be honest, you know, I know I've said this before as well, but I mean, our garden is, you know, it's not like it's big enough for the kids to be out there playing football or anything like that. You know, it's quite small because obviously we're like in the middle of the town. And yeah, it's quite a small garden. I mean, we can fit a trampoline in there or out there. And we've got like a patio and stuff like that. You know, it's perfect for us because, as I say, we would not be able to look after a big garden anyway. We would just, you know, struggle a lot. So, I mean, it's perfect size for us, but from a point of view of, you know, size of garden, it's not the biggest, but it's, you know, amply big enough for what we need. So okay. And to be fair, we've got a park quite, you know, quite close to where we live anyway. Well, over the road and along is a park. So, you know, if the kids wanted to do anything, they can always go across to the park. It's not a problem. But yeah, there's room for trampoline and things, and to be honest, I think that's kind of, you know, good enough, isn't it? That's all that kids really need, isn't it? They don't really play football and all that type of stuff like they used to, I think. I think they're sort of happier bouncing on the trampoline. And to be honest, you know, I think even if you have quite a big garden, I mean, my parents have got quite a big garden, and you know, still, if the kids have ever been playing like ball games there, the ball still ends up over the fence. You know, so no matter how big the garden, well, I mean, that's probably an exaggeration. I guess if your garden was really huge, you know, the ball wouldn't end up over the fence. But I mean, certainly, you know, a big garden, as big as they sort of tend to be within the realms of like normal people over here, you know, you're still going to have issues with the ball going over. So you're probably better off just having a trampoline-y type thing, I think. Right, just deciding where to have my bling. My gosh, I just went all around the houses to say that bunch of stuff, didn't I? Yeah, I don't know what that conversation came about from, but a lot of waffling went on there, didn't it? Oh my gosh, there goes the glue gun again. Because I balance it on like the corner of my desk, and obviously my desk is that, you know, French type desk, so the corners aren't squared off, they're like rounded. So if I don't get it quite on there, it's obviously just going to be falling off. Right, just deciding where else to have the bling. Shall I have some more down there? Quite like that. It's quite nice to have things, you know, like off balance, I think. You know, like the obvious place would be to have one on the facing page, but actually I think it's nicer to have things sometimes that are not in the obvious place. You know, don't have it kind of on the opposite page, but have it on the same page, and it's, you know, makes it more interesting maybe, I think. Okay, so that's coming together really nicely now. So going over, should we do the cover? Let's do this outside cover now. So what should we put on here? I'm just having a look to see what we've got. So I've got here these pretty journaling cards. Oops. I'll just cut this one down. It might be too blendy, you know, it might blend in too much, but at the moment it was just calling to me. Yeah, it might be too blendy actually, so let's just try this one. Yep, I prefer that one on there, I think. So it just needed that bit of, you know, bit of contrast, I think. So let's pop that one on there, I think. Much better. So do we want to have like some book page or something? Let's just bring this one in. It's getting quite hot up here now because I've got obviously the windows open. It's pretty warm up here now. Right, let's just glue this on here. And again, you know, this would be a really nice thing to stitch around. You know, I'm not going to do that because I haven't got my sewing machine here, but you know, if you stitched around it, it would be beautiful. Again, if you haven't got a sewing machine, haven't got access to a sewing machine, don't worry, it's going to look just as nice, you know, just glued on. So okay, I'll just pop that one down. And then what I'm going to do, I think, is just before I tear around that, just going to ink it up now. Just thought that might be a bit easier. So obviously I don't really need to ink up the piece itself because it's been coffee dyed. So it's more just the book page really that I'm just trying to get a bit of colour on. Oh my gosh, look where that glue's coming out. Oh no. I wonder if I've got a wipe. No. Oh, well. Just use that dry wipe, it's fine. It's fine. Once we tear this around, it won't really notice too much. So I'm actually going to cut around this. So when I said tear, I was thinking I would tear it, but actually I think cutting probably is better. So just tearing around, cutting around, sorry, like that. Okay. And then what you could do is just lightly, oh gosh, I've got those hot glue threads again stuck all over me. Ah. Oh my gosh, come on. Right. So again, you can just rough up these book page edges a bit. I mean, be a bit careful because these are very prone to tearing, obviously, compared to thicker paper that you might have printed on. Personally, I don't mind if it tears. I think it's kind of characterful. But, you know, you maybe would mind. So, you know, just take it take it easy and see what you like it to look like. So there we go. Okay, so that looks nice, doesn't it? Now I'm just going to go round those edges a little bit, like that. Now let me just check whether I want to have any lace along that side. I don't know yet. Let's just grab this in. Again, let me just cut that down so as I'm not dragging everything right across the desk. So if we were having that like that, that's quite nice, isn't it? Now what I'm thinking is, for like a closure on this, we might like to have some sort of ribbon, or I don't know, baker's twine, or I'm not sure. Oh, I'm just now thinking, right. So what we could, oh gosh, look, this is the little cluster that my daughter made for me. She said to me, oh Mum, I've put lots of sellotape on the back for you. She loves sellotape, so yeah, it's got a whole bunch of it on there. She obviously didn't really know that this was a cluster, but I said to her, oh, that's lovely, darling. You know, that's what we in the craft world, we would call that a cluster. So yeah, that's what she made for me. So it just obviously dropped down as I pulled my circle punch down. So I just pop that back, and then what I'm going to do is just get a brad. Come on. Okay, so we'll just ink this up slightly. That's my other glue with the messy top, look. Right, and we're just going to go in, you know, roughly the centre. Pop our brad in there. Okay. So what I'm thinking is maybe some baker's twine, and before the lockdown, obviously, but when we all, you know, kind of were knowing that we were going to be going into one before too much longer, so it had not been announced, but everyone was, you know, talking about it and saying how long until we are. I bought some baker's twine. I stocked up on my glue, and I happened to buy some of this baker's twine as well. So, and this is in pink, which, oh, come on. Which obviously I didn't buy this for this project, but just when I was thinking what to use as the closure, I suddenly thought, oh, that pink baker's twine would look really pretty. So let's just see how that would look. So I'm kind of thinking, and then we could just wind that round. Looks really, really cute, doesn't it? So yeah, I'm liking that. Now let's just decide how this will go. Okay, so probably the best thing to do, to be fair, what I could do is actually glue this under here and glue that on top and then wind it round. So I'm going to do that, I think. So I'm just going to hot glue this twine down to hold it in place. Again, obviously mind your fingers because the hot glue is super hot. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is just take my, you know, my centerpiece, if you like, and I'm going to just glue that down over the top of that piece. Like that. Okay, like that. Okay, press that down. I'll have to just hold that down for a few minutes just to make sure it's really, you know, glued really well. Okay, press that in. Right, we're going to have this lace obviously here. Let me just check I've got that, you know, right side up. So I think I did have, but just to make sure. So I'm just going to, again, just hot glue that down here, the side, like that. Okay. Now I'm not going to glue this down on the back yet because I might have other things on this back piece. I haven't quite decided. So that will be hooking around here, but obviously until I decide quite what I'm doing with that, I don't want to, you know, commit myself really. So we can have this here. Now I'm just before I do that, I just want to make sure that I want to go for a brad and not just like a flower or something. That was the wrong colour. I mean, I've got obviously things that I've made over the time laying around on the desk, but I don't want to kind of stop the video hunting around for something. So I think let's just go for this and just, you know, let's just do this and be done with that. So again, I'm just going to hot glue this down like that. And obviously again, I mean, that's half over the twine and half over the piece. So I mean, that just helps to sort of reinforce that and keep that stuck down a bit more. Now all I'm going to do is wrap the twine around 2 or 3 times, and then we're going to obviously wrap it round the thing. So just pretending I'm wrapping that round, just want to make sure I've got plenty. Bearing in mind, this is going to bulk out quite a bit yet because we haven't put any things in it. So, you know, you want to be really nice and generous because you don't want to sort of stuff your piece full and then find actually you've not got enough of a closure, if that makes sense. So, you know, I've cut that off very generously. You know, I've left a lot so that once that expands, it's still going to have plenty of twine to wrap around. Okay. Now, do I want anything else? I've got one of my book plates here, so I'll just see whether this would look good. Pretty. I don't know whether I prefer it without. Let me just ink it up a little bit. It might be it's you know, not blending in quite. Hold on. That's quite cute, isn't it? Should we have that on there? Oh, decisions. It's so hard sometimes. I mean, we could have it there, like actually in the label. Or perhaps we'll do that. I mean, I quite like the label plain, but, you know, maybe that's more fun to have that. I don't know. Let me just have a look again and see whether I can find any of my little brads here beside me. I mean, again, you know, you don't have to use the brads, to be honest. These book plates, by the way, they're not included in that kit. I should just make that clear. You know, they're available in my shop, but they're not included in the kit. I just thought I would have a look and see how they look with those pearls, because I had already wondered about that, actually. And then somebody said to me, oh, why don't you try with these pearls? I've got these titchy ones. So let's just try these. These are like little stickers, but they are super fiddly. Oh, they're cute. Perhaps I'll do that. I mean, I have to say they're very tiny, these. So, yeah, obviously I am struggling to even touch them, you know, hold them. But they are quite cute. So let's just glue those on. So we'll just pop a bit of glue down on each end. So this was actually Anya who mentioned this. Yeah, great idea, Anya. Weirdly, I had already thought perhaps I would try this at some point, but I hadn't got around to it. So great idea, and they do look pretty cute. So, and obviously it's nice to mix things up, isn't it, and have some different looks. So that's that piece there, and we're just going to glue that in on that front cover. So there we go. Oops. Okay, so that's probably it for the moment. And yeah, I mean, I might do other things to that cover, but at the moment I'm thinking it looks pretty nice as it is. Yeah, so I hope that you've enjoyed this little craft along, and I hope you'll join me next time. So thanks very much. Stay well and safe, everyone, and just, yeah, hunker down and do some crafting. Thanks then. Bye.